How many is the like sets do you record now? Is it like once a week?
It's a lot. Yeah, it's kind of getting to be once a week. Like usually it was just like my monthly radio show and maybe like a guest mix once a month, but now it's like virtual festivals season, I guess. Everyone's like, can you do a set like next month and then the week after that? And I'm like, all right. Doing like several at once now. It's a lot, but it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And but the for this like virtual festivals, you are not like you cannot rewatch it or
Yeah, like sometimes it depends like what platform it's on. Like if it's on Twitch, it's pretty easy to rewatch. But yeah, sometimes they just have a domain name and it just is broadcast once and like that's it. And I think that like that model kind of encourages people to tune in live
yeah.
instead of just being like, oh, I'll just watch it later, you know. So that's kind of the way it goes. But usually, yeah, it's possible to watch it back. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, they're fun. They're just it's just a lot of work. But yeah.
I was gonna tell you something. And how has been like you're coming back to hometown?
Yeah, it's been it's been interesting to say the least. I mean, I think everybody in 2020 has kind of had a bit of like a shock to their system. You know, it's always you know, 2020 was not anything any of us expected, but in a way it was kind of a blessing, you know, because life in Berlin was like really hectic. You know, I was working a ton and also, you know, I was working at Monster Ronson's, you know, Monster Ronson's. It's a cute little queer karaoke bar, and I was doing lights and sound there a couple nights a week, and my shifts would go until like, you know, 3 or 4 a.m. So I was just always exhausted, like working super hard, and didn't really have a lot of time for music. So now it's really great to actually have time to like focus on music and not, you know, worry about paying rent or anything because my parents are letting me stay with them, which is really nice. So I can finally like focus on creativity, which is that's really, really lucky, honestly.
Totally. Yeah,
Great.
sometimes I feel like I really need to go back home. I'm like, oh my God, it's just like I just
Right.
really, really just want to make video, you know, it's like it's the only thing I want to do. But
I
then
know.
I don't know, it's like but I film, right? And
Yeah.
you need kind of like, yeah, I'm scared that if I go to a little town in Mexico or something, then I'm not gonna have all this like input and all that shit. And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, might get tricky. I mean, I guess like with sounds are in on web, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but so is video too. I mean, like that could be really interesting, you know, kind of taking the creativity you got from Berlin and bringing it back to, you know, your hometown in Mexico. That could be interesting, you know. I feel like you know, there's always things to be filmed, you know, and then there's inspiration everywhere, you know, in any medium. So
Yeah.
that could be cool.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, but glad you're
Okay.
still in Berlin.
Yeah. It's
Jealous.
nice.
I miss it a lot. But my parents are very happy I'm here, to say the least.
Yeah, they must be.
Yeah.
I was gonna tell you something. Oh, okay. So, I'm gonna try to keep it as short as I can because sometimes I just like go hours, and as well, I don't have like the paid version, so it might cut off, and I don't
Okay.
want it to cut off.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Cool. So I was gonna ask you, when did you make your first musical composition? Maybe let's start there.
Yeah, so first time I really tried to produce music in a linear fashion, I guess. I was about 14, and at the time my older brother and his friends were really into freestyle rapping. And of course at the time I just thought they were like the coolest people in the world and I really wanted them to like me and I wanted to hang out with them. And then one night we were all kind of hanging out. They luckily, you know, let me kind of crash the big kid party. And they all started rapping and they were like, man, like we need some beats. We need some custom beats. And I was like, I could do that. I can figure that out. And they were like, sick. Yeah. If you could do that, that'd be awesome. And at the time, my dad also had a little studio in his garage. He's a big audiophile. He like started one of the first hi-fi speaker studios in his town where he grew up in New Mexico, and was just, you know, always really into music, and that was always a big part of the house. So I was just like, Dad, like, can you teach me how to use, you know, Logic or Ableton, or can you teach me how to like make beats so that my older brother and his friends will like think I'm really cool? And he was like, yeah, I can teach both of you. So he sat both of us down and gave us kind of a crash course on Ableton, which is a software I still use today. And he just taught like the very basics. And my brother was like, yeah, I don't understand any of this. This makes no sense. And I was like, I understand all of this. This is like so cool. It's like, it blew my mind. And so then for the next couple of months, I basically just did not leave my dad's studio. I kind of took it over and kind of kicked him out a little bit. And I would stay up super late, just, watching tutorials and making beats. And then, a couple weeks later, I showed them to my brother and his friends, and I was like, can you guys rap on these? Like, are these good? And they were like, these are sick. And so we would just stay up late, and, with me recording their raps and their freestyles, with custom beats I made. And that was really what kind of made me fall in love with it. I just made beat after beat after beat, and it was a lot of fun. So I think that was kind of the first time I really got obsessed with it.
So you got like a little bit addicted to kind of like solve problems of how to do this and how to do that. And
exactly,
how long was that ago?
I guess that was like 12 years ago. Yeah. I mean, I was always making music. I mean, my earliest memories of actually like making music on a computer, I would say I was probably like 9 or 10 playing around with like GarageBand. I'd record myself playing guitar. I got a little USB mic for Christmas. And so I'd record myself like playing guitar, and then I'd overdub with some drums from my Yamaha keyboard, and then I'd play bass, and then I would like kind of sing over that. I mean, it was horrible, but at least from age 10, I was interested in sort of using software to sequence multiple variations of sound and of music, and because I loved guitar, but I was like, I want more guitar. I want to be able to like have like 5 different guitars going at once. How can I do this? And then software was kind of the answer to that. So it's been a thing for a while, I guess, at least, 15, 16 years, maybe.
Yeah. It's just that it's a little bit funny how people sometimes like they see you and what you produce, and then they're like, oh my God, like it's so good, but people don't actually think how long it takes for someone to get familiarized with a program. Like it takes years to kind of like really get a grasp of the possibilities of what you can do with it. Like it really requires a lot of kind of like, I don't know if it's love, but really like being super stubborn on solving, and
love and obsession. It takes a little bit of manic manic obsession, which is a little bit chaotic at times, but definitely, I mean, people just assume that, I've always been, good. And that's really not the case. I really don't consider myself to be like a good producer until maybe like, 2 or 3 years ago, honestly. I've just made so much crap until the good stuff came out. But yeah, you really have to get like obsessed with it. Otherwise you'll get frustrated and give up. And that's so easy to do. But yeah, you just got to keep revisiting those things you want to accomplish, and it all works out. But it takes hella time.
I know. And right now, which software do you use? Oh, no, I was going to ask like on which platforms do you rely on? Was there like any kind of like community that you go to or something?
So when I started out, SoundCloud was my main platform. And I liked it because of there was sort of like a immediate embedded community within it. And it was really friendly to a multitude of genres. I guess back in the day, it was definitely geared more towards hip hop, and today it's definitely kind of diverged into a lot of different realms. You have singer songwriters on there, and bands, and every genre of electronic music. But back in the day, it was pretty much all about hip hop, and that was where I posted my first beats. That's where a lot of people first discovered me, and I still keep in touch with like a couple people who have been listening to me since I was like 15, and they were just like, the transformation is nuts. And I'm like, I know, like, can't believe you stuck around for this journey. But yeah, that was probably my first platform. But it's been a trip. Yeah.
And like for solving problems for the software, did you go to any specific or just Googling and stuff? Like
well, my dad was really seminal in getting me helped and helping me get started. I mean, he's not a producer by any means, but he's definitely just like an avid learner. Like he's one of those people where if anything intrigues him, he will like dive into it and just learn it, and also kind of obsess over it for a little bit until he like grasps it. Like he doesn't like mystery and things. He likes to learn and like, find the truth in things and, learn. So he really helped me kind of get started. And then after that, I wanted to start doing more advanced things that he didn't really know. And so I kind of just sought information wherever I could find it. Definitely like, YouTube, Google. My parents signed me up for a couple like music production courses in the city, which really helped. And then also just finding friends and asking them how they did stuff. Like another great thing about SoundCloud is direct messages. You can find a cool track, message the artist and be like, yo, like how did you get that vocal effect? How'd you do this beat? Blah blah. They'd be like, oh, I just did this and this, or this setting or this feature. And I was like, I had no idea Ableton could do that. Like to this day, I'm still discovering new features in Ableton. It's the deepest software ever. And so just really just kind of constantly seeking that information wherever it is has been really helpful.
Nice. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I get super pissed because I don't know, in YouTube, there's not a way to really send a direct message,
Yeah. And
it's
especially
like,
to bigger people.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. It's like, sometimes I'm like, I want to be friends with them. Like,
Yeah, that must be really frustrating. I guess you can just find their email, right? Or, yeah, but I guess that's risky. You don't know if they'll respond or not.
Oh yeah. But I didn't think about it, the SoundCloud. I've never sometimes I text people maybe to do some events or something or bookings. But yeah, about like how do you make that or this or that in SoundCloud? Sounds like very cool.
It's really, really cool. Yeah, it's a great platform. I feel like a lot of people nowadays are kind of dissing SoundCloud a little bit, because they're not the best at like paying artists, and they almost shut down a couple times. But I love SoundCloud, and I think it's gonna be around for a while. So it's a slightly controversial opinion, but but I love it, and it's it's where my roots are from. So I'm always gonna be a SoundCloud fan.
Yay SoundCloud.
Yay SoundCloud. Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, there needs to be a sort of equivalent for video, I think, for sure. I mean, I guess YouTube, no. I mean, Vimeo, you can't do direct messages either, I guess. Yeah, Daily Motion, not really either. Someone's got to figure that out.
Someone's got to figure that out.
Someone.
Is then okay. So, and about like your workflow, do you have any workflow, or it's just like ideas that come and then you just write, and then how does it work?
Yeah. I mean, like workflow is a really interesting thing, especially being involved in the experimental arts. I mean, I think the essence of being an experimental artist is constantly experimenting, and not getting too caught up in a certain formula of creation. Of course, like finding a formula that works and repeating that is very efficient and allows you to put out more work. But I've found when I stick to a certain formula and do it again and again, my songs end up sounding very, very similar and not like progressive enough. So something I've been trying to do a lot is to try something different in each song I produce, like try something that I didn't do last song or the song before that. And that's kind of allowed me to keep moving forward and to continue experimenting. I've also been watching a lot of, to this day, I still watch tutorials, and I'm still constantly trying to learn and getting involved in, and really advanced tutorials and finding new methods of sound production. But I feel like, the sort of the theories and the practices and the workflows of any type of art can sort of be applied to music if you think about it, like the way a painter paints, the way a dancer comes up with new movements, like all these theories can sort of be applied to music in their own way. So I'm really trying to sort of think, I guess, less about the actual process of making music and more about the process of generating ideas in a way. There is a massive technical aspect behind it, but what I'm focusing more on is, how can I generate sound creatively and then think differently about this sound, and how can I arrange it in a way that I wouldn't have arranged it a month ago, or how can I process it and edit it and make it into a new composition that I've never heard before or couldn't even imagine in my own head, So that's kind of where my process is at now, but honestly, the process changes like all the time. So I feel like if you would ask me that same question in a month, I'd have a completely different answer, but that's kind of where I'm at right now, just trying to really just stay open to different possibilities and formats of thought and seeing where it takes me. So yeah.
Totally. Sometimes I feel like you need like some years, or sometimes it's good to get like it technically like that. Like that's the aim of getting like to know a program or something, is like to get technically okay in order to feel free on it.
Exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
so then like the ideas can come and the solutions, and you don't have to actually like, exactly like be technical about it, but just to use the tool and just to let the ideas flow. And then it just kind of flows because you feel comfortable with it. No?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was what like the first 10 years of my music production journey were about, really, is training my ears, how to hear problems, identify them quickly and fix it so that it doesn't disrupt the creative flow. Really learning the software deeply so that if I do get, a random idea, I can execute it really quickly and don't have to stop and learn how to do it. And so that's really kind of why I feel like now I'm in the place where I've always wanted to be, because I have that fluency. It's really like speaking a language, and now I feel fluent in it, and I can write poetry instead of asking for directions.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to kind of be in that space now.
And how many songs do you write? Like a lot of songs, like at a time? Like maybe you have like, I don't know, 3, or just like to focus on one and
good question. That has also kind of changed recently. Like in the past, I would start one song and I would just get obsessed with it and I wouldn't work on anything else, and I would really just kind of nitpick and dive into it and just really obsess over it and make it perfect. But I found that was really not the best strategy, because A, it takes a super long time, and B, I end up just driving myself crazy and I turn into this like bionic robot and I get like tunnel vision almost. So now I'm really trying to, I don't know, I guess be a little more loose and fluid and free with my song process. Like I guess it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I did a social media email cleanse where I turned off Wi-Fi in the studio and didn't talk to anybody, like no Instagram, no email. And every single day I was like, I'm just going to generate a new idea, try something new, watch a tutorial, see if that inspires me, and by the end of the week, I had like, 10 beginnings of tracks, and 6 of them I really liked. And that's big enough to be a record. So now I'm, going back and revisiting those and making them longer and seeing what works. So I think that strategy is a lot better. It's kind of like you have to sort of make a lot of sculptures or a lot of ceramic pots, or you have to make a lot of what you're making in order to see what works, and in order to find something that's the most beautiful and something that happens more spontaneously, instead of just focusing on one sculpture or one pot, because the more time you obsess over it, typically the worse it becomes. So at the moment there's a lot of projects going on, and I like it better that way.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance between all, like, because sometimes I feel like pieces, they need to breathe a little bit, and then totally. You need to give them space, and then they evolve, and as well that they get mature, but as well is very important to finish it. And because it's so normal to leave it open and then it stays open, and then sometimes
stuck in like analysis paralysis, where you just can't.
So it's like awesome. I feel like it's finding that balance, and as well, like you said, like in which situation are you? Like sometimes, I don't know, you feel like you need to change like your balance, and then maybe it's like focus on little because of like what you're living, but then it inspires you more to have a little bit of everything. But I think what you did of like closing everything, because I saw in the social media, like, I'm gonna shut down everything. If it's urgent, please send an email. And I'm like, that's nice. I really want to do that. Like, I wish for everyone a week. I
encourage you to do it. I encourage everybody to do it. Honestly, it's so easy to just get distracted in the real world, and like to really put yourself in a creative space. It really, really helps to not have like any outside influences and really just be internal. I mean, like at the end of the week, I did feel like kind of like a vampire zombie, because my brain was just so exhausted of like trying to just push out all this creativity. But I'm gonna get a record out of it, and that's really awesome. But I totally encourage you to do it. And it's scary too, because we get so used to being on social media, and we're like, what if people need me? What if there's a crisis? Like, oh my God. And it's like, really, like nothing that bad is gonna happen. Like, you might miss out on some news, whatever. Like it's really like it's not that bad. Like, so it's really beneficial to do that, I think.
Nice. Going a little bit back, because I think I didn't ask, why and how did you change from hip hop to electronic music? Like it goes a little bit like, how did you get into electronic music?
Yeah, well, I guess let's see. I mean, when I was doing hip hop, it was really fun, and it was a great way to sort of build, community and bond with my brother, and then I started rapping myself, which was really fun because I was really into writing, and I love to write poetry and stuff, but I wanted to combine that with my music somehow. But honestly, I just I stopped liking what I was making really. I also started to learn more about the history of hip hop and how it's really it's Black struggle music. And it really, that community is built off of a world that I'm really not a part of, and of course now there's a lot more white rappers who are not part of that community either. But I still just kind of felt like, I need to make music that's really meaningful, not only to me, but to my community, and then I guess I was in like high school. I was maybe like a junior or senior, and I was sort of, realizing my sexuality, realizing my, what fashion sense I liked. I was realizing just all these little things about myself I didn't know. Like I realized I didn't want to eat meat anymore. I realized I didn't want to be Christian. I wanted to be Buddhist. Like all these sort of aspects of my identity started coming out, and I was really just trying to embrace anything that I wanted to do and trying not to be influenced by other people, which is very hard, especially in high school. So then my dad started showing me more music. It all kind of goes back to my dad, I guess. And he showed me, who was it? It was Massive Attack. It's really cool. They're I guess they're like a dark trip hop band. Yeah. They're amazing. He showed me their album Mezzanine. And I mean, they're kind of a fusion of electronic music and electric instruments like electric guitars and bass and stuff. But it blew my mind. I was like, this is so heavy. Like the synths and the dirty bass lines are amazing, but also like the way they edited the vocals is so beautiful. And I really just started diving into trip hop and old like drum and bass, jungle, like old house. I really just I think Massive Attack kind of opened up the door to electronic music. And then once that door was open, I just like dove in and really just started listening to anything. I mean, I would go through his old boxes of CDs in the studio and I would just listen to like whatever. And then I started actually producing more electronic music and found there was a lot more freedom than producing hip hop. Because in hip hop, you have to constantly be thinking, okay, is there room for the vocals? Is this a rhythm that, a rapper could easily spit on? You really have to think about the artists that it'll be used by. Whereas in electronic music, you don't have to think about, a vocalist at all. You can just kind of be free and just sort of let, the sound design take over. And that's really what I really fell in love with, I think.
And did you go, was there like a party or something like that you went and you were like, oh my God, the culture is nice, or was merely production wise?
Yeah, the actual culture aspect didn't come into play until much later. I mean, like this transition happened when I was 17 or 18, and I was at a boarding school in British Columbia at the time, and the boarding school was in the middle of nowhere. there were no parties. We had class Monday through Saturday. It was really just I was in my room making music a lot of the time and did not have a lot of outside influences besides what I heard on the internet. So I didn't actually find the culture until I was about 21, 22, and I studied abroad in Berlin when I was in NYU, and I went to my first boiler room party, and like Low Tick was playing, Mobile Girl, who are both just queer DJ gods and goddesses at this point. So that was kind of the first time I looked around and saw like, oh, like everyone here is weird like me, and this music is weird like me. And like, I love this. Like I loved how they would bounce from, deep, dirty South hip hop to Jersey club, to hard techno, to, back to some, distorted R&B edit. And the sort of sporadic nature of it was just like me as well. I've ADHD. I can't stay in one place too long. I'm very like energetic. And so that was really the moment where I was like, all right, now I got to be a DJ. Got to not only make the music, but I got to like play it out and do like this too. And so that's kind of where that like connection happened, I guess.
So you started playing when you were here in Berlin, and did you get some gigs, or you were not really playing like like playing?
Yeah. I mean, I did DJ a little bit when I was at NYU, but it wasn't this type of stuff I was DJing now. Like I knew I was interested in DJing because that's just sort of, the live version of music production. But I wasn't DJing anything I actually liked. It was more just, remixes and pop and house and stuff. But when I got to Berlin, I did land a couple of gigs. One at Urban Spray, which was really fun, kind of that outdoor beer garden. And then I threw my own party, which was cute. It was small. It was at Loophole, which is a great venue for, first party. They're very open to bookings and sort of smaller events. But yeah, I mean, I really wasn't getting booked that much until much later, until I guess, 2017, 2018. Once I started putting out my own music, and once other DJs started playing the club music I was making, then they were like, "Oh, like we gotta book you because we want like an hour of this." I was like, "All right, great." So that was definitely a journey. But once I moved to Berlin in 2017, then that sort of, or no, 2018, then that sort of started picking up a little bit more.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And espera. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so is there a place where do you hear the sounds that you like because I hear a lot like that is kind of like Asper and hardcore, and it's like is there a place that inspires you, or maybe like a place or something,
like a sort of physical space?
Yeah,
kind of. I mean, construction sites for sure. I mean, most people walk by and they hear a jackhammer and they're just like, but I'm like, ooh, that's something, car alarms. My ultimate favorite though, and actually I discovered this kind of recently, but like my ultimate favorite is when you're like going on a hike or a walk on a trail and there's like a big like highway overpass, and you walk underneath it and you can sort of hear the cars rushing on top of you, but there's this giant like massive reverb underneath it, so you get all these interesting like whooshing sounds and lots of deep frequencies, and every sound just becomes amplified and sort of like maximized. And like I was on a walk the other I don't know, I guess it was like a couple months ago, and I just ended up standing under this overpass for like 30 minutes with my iPhone, just like recording what I was hearing, because it was so sick, and like all those like whooshing noises and the kind of the movement of the sounds, I guess, was just really like enveloping and just really gnarly. So I'm constantly kind of looking for other influences from the outside world that inspire me, but definitely, yeah, just sort of the industrial corners of the world have always kind of intrigued me.
And do you live in an industrial city, or?
Not really. No, it's pretty naturey out here. I'm in Berkeley, California at the moment, and yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's a lot of, mountains and hills and hiking, and that's also really beautiful, but it's too soft sonically. It's very peaceful, and it's nice after I'm working on a really energetic track to go outside and let my ears rest and just hear some birds or the rustling of the trees. But it's very, very quiet. It's nothing like New York, which is where I got a lot of my early inspiration as well, because it's just a constant just hodgepodge of noise, and I do kind of miss that, but it also kind of leaves more space for my imagination to sort of generate that sonic chaos that I kind of want. So it's both good and so it's fine.
It's fine. I was gonna ask you something, and do you carry around a lot your microphone, or just?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I have a little Zoom recorder. It's pretty shitty, actually. I'm pretty sure it was also my dad's in 2002 or something. I've spilled water on it before. It's definitely not the highest quality. Maybe that's what I like about it. I don't know. But yeah, so if I don't have that, then I'll just do iPhone recordings, which I also kind of like because it has a slightly more like lo-fi texture to it and a bit more grit. But I definitely try to have higher quality options available. But if not, then yeah, I mean, the iPhone mic is surprisingly good, so I'll just go with that sometimes, and it's it works.
Nice. And you use them a lot, like in a lot of your compositions? Like, is it a?
Yeah, totally. Because what's kind of the cool thing about where sound generation is at is there's so many ways to randomize, I guess, like to put it simply. There's so many little plugins and instruments that just require a noise input, and then feeds it through just so many different levels of processing that create something that's on a different planet than the original sound, which is really fun. I mean, you could literally just input, static or a sine wave, and my light turned out. Well, all right, that's fine. Like there's so many different ways to just I don't know, I guess just mess with an initial sound impulse or a frequency. So but the more creative the input, the more creative the output. So these definitely end up in my productions all the time. Sometimes not until years after I initially record them, sometimes that same day. But I have a massive folder of everything I've ever recorded, and sometimes if I'm stuck, I'll just drag and drop a random thing and see if I can make it work.
Yeah, it must be like a big work of catalogizing, no? Like
it is, yeah.
Like
you need to be more organized.
It's crazy.
It's very random right now. Yeah, I basically just put like stars next to the things I like. So if something has a lot of stars, that means I like it a lot, and if it has 1 star, that means it's not that great. And also the stars move it to the top of the folder. But it's been on my to-do list for a while to like actually organize my samples into like categories. But I've been too busy. But eventually, I will organize them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always like a thing, no? It's like, when are you gonna? But it helps so much to be like a little bit of organized. But I don't know. You can never be totally, because then you organize yourself, and then you're like, wait, what? In which logic did I do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you can't find anything. Yeah, it's like there has to be like a method to the madness. Yeah, it's like this is the whole point of organizing, so I could find shit. And now I, no idea where I put anything. God damn it. Yeah, which I'm a little bit afraid of that as well. And I'm sure with video, it's the same issue. You probably have hundreds of clips of just random pieces of video, and it's like, where was that thing I wanted to find? And then just, a software will automatically name something, file ZXY123. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's complex.
It's super crazy, but it's funny, to see how like the logic of a person can really change like with the time and stuff. I don't know.
Totally.
It's just like really funny. And would you say you have like any influences? Do you hear me well? I don't know why, if it's my
cable. No, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was my cable. So okay, do you have like artistic influences from music or maybe philosophy, anything?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess like my main influences in terms of musicians as of today are sort of the veterans of electronic music. Aphex Twin is really a very important like father figure to electronic music, and especially experimentalism. But I've always kind of tried to not be too inspired by other producers, because I really just want to be unique and not copy anybody too much. So I've been reading a lot of books and I guess manifestos by a lot more like visual artists. Kandinsky is one of my favorites for sure, because not only was he an incredible painter, he was really a profound like philosopher. The way he thought about color and composition and texture, and but he also would liken and relate those colors and those textures to sounds, because he was a synesthete. So he had theories that like yellow was middle C and red was F sharp and all these things, and his manifestos were really kind of eye-opening to how much there's a relation and a conversation between the visual and the sonic, which is really interesting.
It's very funny that you mentioned it, because actually like the group where kind of Cabaret Voltaire was created, Cabaret Voltaire.
Yeah.
Is one of from industrialism, no? Like from industrial.
Oh yeah. That's
so
crazy,
basically, they were building like a group. And it was a whole thing, and then they had like a really like a fan site for Kandinsky and stuff. So
it's fascinating. And I'm really glad that he hasn't been lost in the ether of visual artists. There's so many incredible painters, especially in the abstract expressionism era, that just do not get the clout and the attention they deserve. But I'm really glad that Kandinsky has sort of stood the test of time, and he's been a massive influence on me. For sure. But also, like, I mean, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Eminem. He was probably the first musician that I really fell in love with and really kind of took a lot of inspiration from. Like when I was a rapper, I just really wanted to be like, the 15-year-old female Eminem. But to this very day, I mean, he has this this attitude that is so inspiring. He just gives zero fucks and just really just creates so freely and just does not give a shit about what any listener is going to think, or or how he's going to be perceived, or if it's politically correct or not. And I love that. So I'm really just trying to pull from people who have been very important to me from a young age, but also are not like too closely related to what I do. And that sort of forces me to like use those inspirations a bit more creatively as well.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Eminem.
I love him. I don't care. It's amazing. Voice of a generation.
He is. Yeah. Oh yeah. And would you like have like a sound philosophy, a music philosophy, or reflection that you kind of like to follow, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this also changes all the time. I guess my philosophy of creation. But, I think primarily what's most important is, sort of trying to create something that isn't really produced by skill, but that's produced by a new way of listening. Like I'm always trying to sort of get outside of my own head and sort of hear things differently than maybe the average person would hear them. And I think that a lot of people don't really know what they want to hear until they hear it. And then they're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. So I'm really trying hard not to sort of follow trends too carefully, but sort of draw tiny pieces from them to make something completely unique. So that when people do hear them, they maybe don't understand it at first, but it takes time to sort of break down the initial sound and really kind of open up and see what's inside, if that makes sense. A lot of people hear my stuff and they don't really get it, or they're like, this is so like aggressive and so fast, or like, what is this? But I think it's all about just finding the right environment and putting yourself in the right headspace to really understand something. And also, like, I think it's really crucial to sort of always remain open to other artistic practices, and sort of use those rules in sound creation. Like the way David Lynch thinks up ideas for movies is the way I want to think up ideas for sounds. There can be so much of a conversation between other mediums. That's really important to keep in mind, I think. But it changes a lot. I'm also going back to like the very roots of music. I've been really into like drumming lately. I'm trying to teach myself how to drum. I'm reading a book about ethnomusicology and the very beginnings of music. Was the drum. There's so many religious aspects of drumming. It was one of the earliest forms of communication, and I feel like finding sort of a common theme in your art and then tracing that theme back to its early roots is like the best way to get closer to your craft and really, I guess, expedite your skill in that area. It's getting back to like the bare basics from, it could even be like in, BC times, like the earliest, most rudimentary form of your art can have so many lessons that can be applied today. That's another thing I'm doing. But again, it changes all the time. And so I'm like, there's always trying to just get new little tidbits of information and knowledge when I can.
Yeah. And motivation, because that motivates to find like new little ways of like how to reflect on it. But I think it's like super funny. I don't know, kind of like it reminds you that we're not that special, and that's kind of nice. Yeah. Because it's exactly, like drums have been always there, and we don't really change, but we still get super amazed by sound, right? So like the basics are there, and I feel that the farther you go back, in a way, it gives you perspective. So maybe if you look a little bit into the history, it gives you like some insight of the human behavior in general, and that's something that sometimes you cannot really sense by just living in your time, in a way, because you're like because everything's chaotic, and you're like, I don't know, you feel like everything's kind of unique because we kind of need that. But it's really nice to kind of like step back and just like see it from far, and then you kind of like get a grasp of what connects us in a way. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, entirely. Yeah. And it's totally true. It's like, drumming and rhythm, this is not a new thing. It's literally been around since the dawn of man. The monkey figured out, oh, if I put these two sticks together, it emits a sound. And if I do it again and, maintain the same space between these strikes of the stick, then that's a rhythm. And oh, my brain recognizes this, and now this other monkey is doing the same thing in the same time. And it's really just, it's so basic, but even just using those lessons and sort of bringing them into a modern era, it can be so powerful, and it can really generate interesting ideas that are not new, but they allow for new combinations of pre-existing ideas, and that's what's really exciting to me.
Nice. And going like a little bit back, was there like a thing or a situation or a position where you realized which sound did you want to follow? Like, was it because you felt more comfortable with it, or?
Somebody actually asked me this semi recently. They were like, why niche club music? Like, why queer club? It's so niche and it's not that big of a following. Like, why not just make, techno and make and make hundreds of thousands of dollars? And I was like, good question. And it really just goes back to what it makes me feel in the club. I mean, it's like the majority of stuff I make is club music. I do have some experiments, and I do music for film and stuff as well. But a lot of it is dance music. But yeah, what it really went back to was thinking about those early days in clubs in Berlin, not techno clubs, but the smaller, more intimate environments where I heard people draw from hundreds of influences and hundreds of different electronic genres and weave them together into this sort of new, constantly warping and shifting soundscape of, many different drum grooves and styles and genres. And I remembered like just being in the club being like, I love this because I have no idea what's going to happen next. With techno, you can kind of guess what's going to happen next. There's going to be a kick drum, it's going to be a hi-hat, going to be a vocal sample, and that's going to, in that pattern, one's going to drop out, one's going to come back in, and that's going to continue for the next, 12 hours. Great. But with this music that I make, I loved how unpredictable it was, and how just the raw energy of it would just like affect you in the most primal way and make you want to just like scream almost with energy and delight. And I loved that. So that's really what I try to go back to. Like if I'm trying to make a track that I want to be like, the big banger of a record, I'll try to just mentally take myself back to those early days and be like, okay, like how do I remanufacture that feeling in this piece? And that's kind of what I try to take with me.
Okay, kind of like more like a ritualistic approach to it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Because really, I mean, music is sort of the only type of time travel that we have, and so I always kind of try to think about both the past and the future, I guess, when I'm making this kind of music. And that's kind of what I love about it, is it draws from so much from the past, but it's, a lot of it is filled with, futuristic, laser sounds and, dinosaurs catching on fire with, machine guns. And just there's so much like so many visual aspects going on that's both, ancient and like 100 years in the future. And that's just like really, really cool to me. People are also using AI to generate new ideas, and it's really kind of at the forefront of the AI movement as well, which is really fascinating. So yeah, it's a great way to sort of dance on, the timeline of music history and, be in a million places at once, basically.
Million places. Yeah. Sometimes I kind of like really try to grasp or try to understand, because I don't like, why is it like this technological music represented in a way that is for a longer time, kind of we like to hear for longer periods of time, but it's like an static tone in a way, but it's like really satisfying. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like you can really concentrate in a way. Like whenever I'm like hearing like, I just feel like calm you know,
Yeah.
like there's like an ease on it, even though there's like like to some people they don't represent ease, but I just like can really go for longer in a way, and it just like I don't know, it just like makes me more flat, and it's a really big satisfaction against like from this like what I don't know, singing or really putting like an emotion like with words and maybe with like I don't know, it's really different, but it's kind of like it expresses our generation of full of technology, but I don't know, it's such a mystery for me, right? I don't know.
It is, yeah. I think it really just goes back to like the early days of being put in a trance. I mean, like almost every, you know, shamanistic spiritual ritual includes a drum in some way, because that's sort of the easiest way to sort of put the human mind in a trance and sort of you know, forget surroundings and sort of just focus on the beats. You know, I mean, they used to have, I think it was like in ancient like Mesopotamian times, they would have you know, dance rituals that would last for 3 to 6 days, where it was just drums and dancing, and people would have these incredibly prolific, you know, spiritual awakenings and visions, you know, and people would, you know, pass out and wake up and say they saw, you know, Jesus, they saw God, they saw, you know, the almighty being during this incredible period where it was just, you know, just drums and movement. And it definitely has very heightened spiritual abilities, you know, the essence of the drum movement and grooves. You know, it has incredible powers that sort of enlighten different electric pathways in the brain that are not otherwise you know, sort of lit up when we hear a drum beat versus, you know, random scattering of melodic notes that have no pattern. Like as humans, we are essentially, you know, constant pattern seekers. We're obsessed with patterns, and when we find a pattern, we latch onto it, and we love to just let it completely overtake us. I think that's really what it goes back to. It's just like the rudiments of the human brain.
Nice. Patterns.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Patterns, yes. I love patterns. It's all patterns. Patterns are everywhere. It's great.
They fit perfectly.
Yes, it's all just a puzzle, and when it fits, it's ecstasy. It's awesome. Yeah.
It's like I made a story like yesterday. I was like just here to say like February began in a Monday and finishes in a Sunday. And then I just got a lot of messages like, I thought I was alone. I was like, no, man, it's very satisfying. Like,
right? Yes, it's just the logic. Yeah. It's perfect. No, I'm with you on that one. I love it. It's like, it's just so satisfying.
Oh man. Okay. So do you wanna say something, I don't know, anything about, I don't know, that we maybe didn't talk about or I didn't ask, or about like experimentation, anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we definitely covered a lot. I mean, I took just like a couple of notes of things that you asked on Instagram, but I think I pretty much covered a lot of it. I mean, I'm really just kind of, I guess currently just really getting lost in just the infinite combinations of sound creation, you know, and that's really kind of what I'm obsessed with at this moment, is just finding new ways to take the infinite amounts of audio that are everywhere, not just in the real world, but also on the internet. You know, I mean, literally a sound producer, an audio engineer has access to literally any sound on the planet. Like if it vibrates, it makes a sound, and everything is vibrating constantly. Everything is just, you know, collections of atoms vibrating. So when everything vibrates and everything makes a sound, and a microphone can capture any type of vibration, you can sample anything. And just, I think about that a lot, because it's like, fuck, like that's really terrifying, but also like really beautiful. Like anything can be sampled. Everything is at my fingertips to be recorded and put into Ableton and warped and manipulated and turned into a composition. And so that's really where I'm at right now, is taking that vast, like infinitely expanding sort of palette of sounds and learning how to condense that down into something meaningful and usable. So that's where I'm at right now. And I would encourage any other audio engineers and producers listening to just not get too close-minded with their samples. You know, don't rely on Splice or, you know, sample packs too much. Going out and recording your own sounds is really essential to generating new ideas, I think.
Yes. Oh my God. Sounds very nice.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming at times, but it's fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's why I like small platforms, and as well like yeah, sometimes we're scared because we have everything there, and it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. It is because it's like it's there and you have the power, but then you just fucking do it and experiment, and then I don't know.
It's getting away from that fear and just diving in is the best way. It is really, really hard, but it's the only way to really move forward and progress, is be like, all right, fuck the fear. I'm just gonna narrow it down and just get some work done. And that's what I'm always trying to do.
Nice. Fuck fear.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, fuck it. Stupid. Don't need it.
A t-shirt, fuck fear.
Yeah, right? That's great. New merch.
Ani Klang.
Love it. Yeah. That's great. Might actually do that. Why not?
Okay, Ani, thank you so much, man. This was a really nice conversation.
This
really
was great.
nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed chatting with you. It's nice to like put a face to the name finally.
Yeah, I know.